The highway stretched before us like a promise, its black ribbon cutting through fields of golden grass, the summer sun glinting off the hood of our beat-up sedan. I gripped the wheel, the leather worn smooth under my palms, the air alive with the scent of warm asphalt and the faint tang of Jamie's energy drink in the cup holder. The radio crackled, spitting out a classic rock song we both knew by heart, and Jamie sang along, his voice off-key but loud, his sneakers propped on the dash. We were 3 hours into our cross-country road trip, a plan hatched over late-night beers to reconnect, to stitch up the distance that had crept into our friendship. I glanced at him, his dark hair a mess in the open window, and felt a rush of gratitude for this. Us, the road, a chance to fix what time had frayed. Jamie and I had been inseparable since high school, 2 kids in a small town who'd shared everything. Secrets, fights, dreams of escaping. We'd stayed close through college, trading texts and visits, but life had pulled us apart lately. I'd landed a steady job as a graphic designer in the city, my days filled with deadlines and coffee runs, while Jamie bounced between freelance gigs, his life a whirlwind of music festivals and odd jobs. He'd always been the wild one, the guy who dragged me to karaoke at 2 a.m., his laugh a spark that lit up any room. But the past year, his texts had slowed, his calls shorter, and I felt him slipping, a shadow where our friendship used to be. "Let's drive," he'd said last month, his voice bright over the phone. Coast to coast, just us, like old times. I'd agreed, packing a bag with the hope we'd find each other again. The car was a relic, a hand-me-down from my dad. Its seats creaking, the air conditioning more suggestion than a feature. But it was ours for these 2 weeks, loaded with snacks, a cooler of sodas, and a playlist Jamie had spent days curating. The highway hummed under the tires, the world outside a blur of billboards and truck stops, neon signs for diners glowing faintly in the daylight. "This is it, Alex," Jamie said, grinning, his sunglasses reflecting the sky. "No bosses, no rent, just the road. We're free, man." I laughed, the sound easing the knot I hadn't realized was there, and cranked the music, letting the guitar riffs fill the space between us. We stopped at a gas station, the air thick with the scent of fuel and fried food from a nearby food truck. I filled the tank, the pump clicking rhythmically, while Jamie leaned against the car, scrolling his phone, his thumb moving fast, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Who are you texting?" I asked, keeping my tone light, wiping my hands on my jeans. "Just a friend," he said, not looking up, his voice casual but clipped, like he'd rehearsed it. He pocketed the phone, the screen dark, and grabbed a bag of chips from the trunk. "Want some?" he offered, his grin back, but I caught a flicker in his eyes, something guarded, and it stuck with me, a pebble in my shoe I couldn't shake. Back on the road, the sun dipped lower, painting the sky orange, the highway's white line stretching into the distance. Jamie told stories, his latest gig, a bar fight he'd barely dodged, and I listened laughing, the cars on a steady pulse. But I noticed the small things, the way he'd check his phone when he thought I wasn't looking, angling it away, the way he'd pause when I asked about his plans, his answers vague, like, "Oh, just figuring stuff out." I told myself it was nothing, that Jamie had always been private about some things, that our friendship was stronger than a few odd moments. We'd built it on trust, on nights confessing fears under a sky full of stars, on promises to always have each other's backs. "Remember that summer after graduation?" I said, glancing at him, the memory warm in my chest. We drove to that lake, got drunk, swore we'd never let life split us up. I smiled, the road blurring past, the air cool through the open window. "Yeah," Jamie said, his voice soft, his eyes on the horizon. "We were kids, thinking we'd conquer the world." He laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes, and he turned up the radio, the moment slipping away. I felt it then, a faint unease, like a crack in the windshield you notice, but drive on anyway. I pushed it down, focused on the road, the neon glow of a motel sign, ahead where we'd crash for the night. We pulled into the lot, the gravel crunching, the air heavy with the scent of dust and motor oil. Jamie grabbed his bag, his phone buzzing, and he stepped away, his voice low as he answered, too quiet for me to hear. I watched him, the motel's neon casting shadows across his face, and wondered who was on the other end, why he turned his back. "All good," I asked when he returned, slinging my duffel over my shoulder, the wooden porch of the motel creaking under our feet. "Yeah, just checking in," he said, his grin quick, too quick, and headed inside. I followed, the lobby's air stale, my notebook and my bag of weight I hadn't opened yet. I didn't write that night, but in my mind, I traced the words. His laugh, my trust, a shadow stirs, step by step, toward what? The road stretched ahead, miles to mend us, but as I lay in the motel bed, the hum of the highway outside, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was already breaking. The highway unfurled like a ribbon through the endless plains, the sun climbing higher, its light bouncing off our sedan's chipped hood. I drove, the steering wheel warm under my palms, the air thick with the scent of dust and Jamie's half-empty energy drink. Its rattling in the cup holder. The radio played a fuzzy country tune, Jamie humming along, his sunglasses perched low, his arm dangling out the open window. We were 4 days into our cross-country road trip, chasing the freedom of our high school days, when it was just us against the world. His laugh still sparked something in me, a reminder why I'd said yes to this. 2 weeks to rebuild what distance and time had worn thin. But the cracks I'd noticed at the motel, his quick glances at his phone, lingered like a faint hum beneath the engine's drone. We'd been friends since we were 16, sneaking beers behind the bleachers, dreaming of lives bigger than our dusty town. Jamie was a spark, the one who'd pull me into adventures, midnight drives, pranks that got us grounded. I was the steady one, the planner, now a graphic designer with city apartment, while Jamie drifted, his freelance gigs a patchwork of chaos. This trip was supposed to bring us back, to the nights we'd sworn we'd never drift apart. "We're killing it out here," Jamie said, grinning, tossing a pretzel into his mouth from a bag balanced on his knee. I nodded, smiling, but his grin felt too bright, like he was trying to outshine something I couldn't see. We pulled into a diner off the highway, its neon sign blinking open 24/7, the parking lot a gravel patch littered with truckers' rigs. The air was warm, heavy with the scent of fried eggs and motor oil, the wooden porch creaking as we stepped inside. The place was a time capsule. Red vinyl booths, a jukebox glowing in the corner, waitresses calling orders over the clatter of plates. We slid into a booth, the table sticky under my elbows, and ordered burgers, Jamie joking with the waitress about extra fries. For a moment, it felt like old times, his laugh pulling me back to summers when we'd split milkshakes and plan our escape from nowhere. But then his phone buzzed, the screen lighting up, and he grabbed it fast, angling away as he typed, his smile fading for a second. "Work stuff," I asked, keeping my tone light, sipping my soda, the ice clinking in the glass. "Nah, just a friend," he said, his voice casual, but his thumb moved too quickly, the screen going dark before I could glimpse it. He leaned back, stretching, his eyes on the jukebox, not me. "You picked the next song," he said, tossing me a quarter, but the deflection felt deliberate, a curtain drawn over something he didn't want me to see. I stood, the wooden floor scuffed under my sneakers, and fed the quarter into jukebox, picking a song we'd loved in high school, its chords a bridge to better days. As the music filled the diner, I watched him from across the room, his fingers tapping his phone again, a quick glance to check if I was looking. My chest tightened, a flicker of doubt I didn't want to name. Jamie was my brother, not by blood but by choice, the guy who'd carry me home after I broke my ankle skateboarding, who'd cried with me when my dad got sick. But these moments, his guarded texts, his vague answers, felt like pebbles piling up, threatening to block the road between us. Back at the booth, our burgers arrived, steaming, the air thick with the scent of grease and onions. "Remember that road trip to the coast?" I said, cutting through the silence, the memory warm in my mind. We got lost, ended up at that sketchy carnival, won that stupid stuffed shark. I laughed, hoping to pull him back, to feel us again. He grinned, but it was quick, distracted. "Yeah, you screamed on the Ferris wheel," he said, his eyes flicking his phone as it buzzed again. He didn't pick it up, but his fingers twitched, and he changed the subject, talking about a band he'd seen last month. I nodded, chewing slowly, the burger tasteless now. I wanted to ask who kept texting why he was so cagey, but the word stuck, caught in the trust I'd always had in him. He was Jamie, my best friend, not some stranger hiding secrets. Or so I told myself. We hit the road again, the highway stretching into the dusk, the sky bruised with purples and oranges, neon signs of motels and gas stations flickering to life. Jamie drove now, his hands loose on the wheel, singing along to the radio, but I caught him checking his phone at a red light, his face lit by the screen's glow. "You expecting a call?" I asked, half joking, the air cooled through the cracked window. "Nope. Just checking the map," he said, too fast, locking the phone and tossing it into the console. I didn't believe him. But I didn't push, the hum of the tires filling the silence. The road stretched on, the city lights fading behind us, the open plains a canvas of possibility and doubt. I leaned back, the seat creaking, and thought of our old promises, loyalty, honesty, us against the world. My notebook was in my bag, untouched, but in my mind I wrote. His laugh, my trust, a secret hums, step by step, toward what's breaking. As we pulled into a motel for the night, the neon sign buzzing, the wooden porch sagging, I felt the road trip's promise fraying, a shadow growing in the space where our friendship used to fit. The highway carved through rolling hills, its asphalt shimmering under the midday sun. The air thick with the scent of wildflowers and the sedan's overheated engine. I drove, my hand steady on the wheel, the leather warm, while Jamie sprawled in the passenger seat, his sunglasses reflecting the endless road. 6 days into our cross-country road trip, the promise of reconnecting felt both alive and fragile, like a song we couldn't quite remember the words to. We'd laughed over diner burgers yesterday, swapped stories of old pranks, but Jamie's quick glances at his phone, his vague answers, had grown louder in my mind, a hum that drowned out the radio static. I wanted to trust him, to hold on to the friendship we'd built since we were kids, but the cracks were spreading, and I couldn't ignore them anymore. We'd hit a rhythm on the road, trading driving shifts, arguing over playlists, stopping at gas stations where the air smelled of fuel and freedom. Jamie was still the spark, his jokes pulling me out of my city stress, his grin a reminder of why he was my best friend. But the moments of distance, his phone buzzing, his quick deflections, were piling up like mile markers I couldn't unsee. "We need a break from this car," he said, pointing to a sign for a scenic lookout, his voice bright but edged with something restless. I nodded, eager for a pause, hoping the open sky might clear the fog between us. The lookout was a gravel pull-off. Perched on a hill overlooking a valley, the air cool with the scent of pine and earth, the wooden railing weathered under my palms. We leaned against it, the sedan cooling behind us, the highways hum a distant pulse. The view was endless, green hills folding into blue haze, a river glinting below, and for a moment it felt like the old us, 2 kids dreaming bigger than our lives. "This is why we're out here," Jamie said, snapping a photo with his phone, his grin wide. I smiled back, the knot on my chest loosening, but then his phone buzzed and he turned away, his fingers flying across the screen, his face tightening. "Who's that?" I asked, keeping my tone light, tossing a pebble into valley, watching it vanish. "Just a buddy," he said, too fast, pocketing the phone, his eyes on the horizon. "Not me. Checking in, you know." He grabbed a soda from the cooler, the can hissing as he cracked it open, but the lie, oh, it felt like one, hung in the air, sharp as the wind cutting through the pines. I want to call him out, to ask why he was so cagey, but the memory of our high school nights, swearing loyalty under a starry sky, held me back. Jamie was my brother, the guy who'd stood by me through my worst days. He wouldn't hide something big. Not from me. Or so I told myself. Back in the car, the highway stretching west, the sun dipping toward the hills. I tried to shake it off. Jamie took the wheel, the radio blasting a rock song we both loved, and we sang, our voices rough but loud, the windows down, the air rushing in. It felt good, real, like we were us again, but the feeling faded when we stopped at a small-town gas station, its neon sign flickering fuel and snacks. I went inside for coffee, the air stale with the scent of burnt grounds and motor oil, while Jamie stayed by the pump, his phone pressed to his ear, his voice low, his back to me. I watched through the window, the fluorescent lights harsh, and saw him glance around, like he was checking for eyes. My stomach twisted, the coffee cup hot in my hands, But I stayed still, not ready to face what I was starting to fear. He was back in the car when I returned, his grin quick, too polished. "Ready to roll?" he asked, starting the engine, the hum blending with the radio static. I nodded, but my eyes caught his phone, left face up in the console, the screen lighting up with a text. "Miss you already. Tomorrow?" No name, just a number. But the words hit like a punch, a glimpse into a world Jamie hadn't shared. I stared, my pulse loud in my ears, until the screen went dark, Jamie oblivious, tapping the wheel to the music. Was it a fling? Something more? The Jamie I knew was loyal, open, but this Jamie, this road trip version, was a stranger, hiding pieces of himself. I shifted in my seat, the seatbelt digging into my shoulder, the air heavy with the scent of coffee and doubt. "You seem busy," I said, my voice casual, testing the water. "All these text calls. Got a secret life I don't know about?" I forced a laugh, watching his face, the neon glow of a passing billboard casting shadows across it. He chuckled, but it was tight, his eyes on the road. "Nah, man, just keeping in touch. You know me, always juggling." He cranked the radio, drowning out the chance to push further. I let it go, the message, "Miss you already?" burning in my mind. I wanted to grab his phone, demand answers, but trust, or what was left of it, stopped me. We'd sworn to have each other's backs. Through breakups, job losses, everything. But now, with every mile, I felt him pulling away, a map folding shut before I could read it. We pulled into a motel as dusk settled, the neon sign buzzing vacancy, the wooden porch sagging under our steps. Jamie clapped my shoulder, his grin warm, like nothing was wrong. "Good day, right?" he said, tossing his bag onto a bed, the springs creaking. I nodded, forcing a smile, the text words a weight in my chest. My notebook stayed in my bag, but I knew what I'd write. His grin, my doubt, a message haunts. Step by step, toward a truth I dread. The highways hum faded outside, the room dim, and as Jamie laughed at some TV show, I wonder how many miles we had left before the cracks in our friendship broke wide. The highway blurred past, a streak of asphalt under the sedan's tires, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the plains. I drove in silence, the air heavy with the scent of stale coffee and Jamie's half-eaten bag of chips, the radio off for the first time in days. 8 days into our cross-country road trip, the promise of reconnecting felt like a fading signal, drowned out by the text I'd seen on Jamie's phone yesterday. "Miss you already. Tomorrow?" Its words a splinter in my trust. He sat beside me, scrolling his phone, his thumb moving fast, oblivious of the weight of my glance. Our friendship, built on years of shared secrets and late-night vows, was fraying, and I couldn't pretend I didn't see the threads pulling loose. Jamie had been quieter today, his usual joke sparse, his grin less convincing. We'd stopped at a gas station earlier, the air thick with fuel and dust, and he'd stepped away to take a call, his voice low, his back to me. I'd watched, my hands tight on the pump, the hum of the highway a restless pulse. "Work stuff," he'd said when he returned, but his eyes didn't meet mine, and I'd nodded, swallowing the urge to push. The text, the calls, his guarded glances, they were building a wall, and I was starting to wonder what was on the other side. "Let's hit a bar tonight," Jamie said, breaking the silence, his voice bright but forced, like he was trying to reset us. "Find some dive, shoot pool, you know?" I glanced at him, his sunglasses perched on his head, his smile a shadow of the one I'd trusted since we were kids. I wanted to say no, to demand answers, but the thought of a crowded bar, music drowning my doubts, felt like a lifeline. "Sounds good," I said, my voice flat, turning off the highway toward a small town, its neon signs flickering to life in the dusk. The bar was a squat building, its wooden exterior peeling, the neon cold beer sign buzzing in the window. We parked, the gravel crunching, the air cool with the scent of cigarette smoke and spilled liquor. Inside, the place was alive, jukebox blaring, pool tables clacking, locals laughing over pints. We grabbed a table, the wood sticky under my elbows, and ordered beers, the cold glass of brief comfort in my hand. For a while, it worked. Jamie was his old self, challenging me to a game of pool, his laugh loud as he missed a shot, the cue chalk dusting his fingers. I let myself lean into it, the clink of balls, the bar's smoky haze, the memory of nights like this when we were 20, invincible. But then his phone buzzed and he stepped outside muttering, "Gotta take this." His voice too quick, leaving me with the cue stick, the game unfinished. I watched him through the window, the neon glow casting shadows across his face. His gestures animated, his voice too low to hear but urgent, intimate. I sipped my beer, the bitterness sharp, and felt the bars unfade, my focus on Jamie's silhouette. He'd been gone too long for a casual call, and the text from yesterday burned brighter in my mind. I set the cue down, my hands restless, and glanced at his jacket, slung over the chair, his phone nowhere in sight. But a folded receipt peeked from the pocket, and before I could stop myself, I pulled it out, my pulse loud in my ears. It was from a motel 2 towns back, one we hadn't stayed at, dated 3 nights ago when Jamie had gone for a walk. Scribbled on the back, in his handwriting, "Meet me, room 12, 10 p.m., L." My stomach dropped, the paper trembling in my hand. L a lover? A secret he'd kept while we drove, laughed, shared beers? I stuffed the receipt back, my breath short, the bar's noise rushing back. Laughter, a glass breaking, the jukebox's wail. Jamie returned, his grin quick, too polished, sliding into a seat like nothing had changed. "You're shot, man," he said, grabbing his beer, oblivious to the storm in my chest. "Who's L?" I asked, my voice low, steady, but sharp enough to cut through the bar's din. I leaned on the pool table, the felt rough under my palms, watching his face, the neon light catching the flicker in his eyes. He froze, beer halfway to his mouth, then laughed, a sound too high, too forced. "L? What are you talking about?" He set the glass down, his fingers twitching, his gaze darting to his jacket, like he knew I'd seen something. "The receipt," I said, not backing down, my heart pounding. "Motel, room 12, 3 nights ago. You weren't with me. Who's L, Jamie?" The words felt like a line drawn, a challenge to the friend I trusted, the one who'd sworn we'd never lie to each other. His grin faded, his eyes narrowing, but he recovered fast, leaning back, casual, too casual. "Dude, it's nothing. Just a friend I crashed with, no big deal. You're reading too much into it." He picked up the cue, lining up a shot, the clack of the balls loud, final, like he was shutting the door on my question. "Let's play," he said, his voice tight, daring me to push. I did not then, but the air between us had changed, thick with what he wouldn't say. We finished the game, my shot sloppy, his forced cheer grating, the bar's neon glow a cold witness. Back in the car, the highway dark now, the hum of the tires loud in the silence. I gripped my coffee cup, its warmth gone. My notebook was in my bag, untouched, but I knew what I'd write. His lies, my proof, a friend I lose, step by step toward a breaking point. Jamie drove, humming to the radio. But I stared out the window, the neon signs blurring, our friendship a map tearing at the seams, and I wonder how many miles we had left before it fell apart. The highway stretched into the twilight, its asphalt a dark thread through endless fields, the sedan's tires humming a song I no longer felt. I sat in the passenger seat, my coffee cup cold in my hands, the air heavy with the scent of dust and Jamie's lingering cigarette smoke, a habit he'd sworn he'd quit. 10 days into our cross-country road trip, the cracks in our friendship had deepened. The motel receipt I'd found last night. "Meet me, room 12, 10 p.m. L," a weight I couldn't shake. Jamie drove, his eyes fixed on the road, the radio off, the silence between us louder than the engine's drone. I wanted to believe in us, in the bond we'd built since we were kids, but the truth was clawing its way out, and I wasn't sure I could hold it back much longer. We'd barely spoken since the bar, where I called him out on receipt, his deflection, "Just a friend, no big deal," ringing hollow. His grin was still there, but was brittle like a neon sign flickering before it dies. I kept replaying our history, nights sneaking into concerts, confessions over cheap whiskey, promises to never let each other down. Jamie was my brother, the one who'd stayed up with me when my dad passed, his arm around my shoulders as I cried. But the Jamie beside me now, his phone buzzing the console, his fingers twitching to check it, Felt like a stranger, hiding a life I wasn't part of. We should stop for the night, I said, my voice cutting to the silence, the highway's white lines blurring past. There's a motel up ahead. Jamie nodded, his jaw tight, and turned off at a sign for Starlight Motel, its neon letters half-lit, the air cool with the scent of pine and motor oil. The parking lot was nearly empty, gravel crunching under our tires, the wooden porch sagging under a flickering vacancy sign. We checked in, the lobby smelling of stale coffee and bleach, and dropped our bags in a room with 2 creaky beds, the wallpaper peeling like our friendship. Outside, we found a fire pit behind the motel, a circle of stones with a pile of logs, the air sharp with the promise of a chill. Let's make a fire, I said, needing something to anchor us, to pull us back to the nights we'd camped as kids, telling stories under the stars. Jamie shrugged, but helped, stacking wood, the crackle of kindling a small comfort. We sat on wooden benches, the fire's glow casting shadows across his face, his sunglasses tucked into his shirt, his eyes distant. I sipped a soda, looking cold, and tried to find the friend I'd started this trip with. Remember that camping trip senior year? I said, my voice soft, the fire popping, the highways hum faint beyond the trees. We got lost, slept in the car, swore we'd always stick together. I looked at him, hoping for a spark, a sign we could still fix this. What happened to that, Jamie? You're different, distant. He stared into the fire, his fingers tracing the edge of his phone, still in his pocket. Life, man, he said, his voice low, almost regretful. It gets complicated. You know how it is. He met my eyes for a moment, and I saw something, guilt, maybe, or sadness. But then he looked away, tossing a stick into the flames, the smoke curling into the night. I wanted to push, to ask about about the motel, the calls, but his tone stopped me, a rare crack in his armor. I leaned back, the bench hard, the air thick with the scent of burning wood, and my own doubt. You can tell me anything, I said, my words a plea, a last chance to bridge the gap. We've always been straight with each other, right? Yeah, he said, his smile faint, forced, his hand tightening around his phone. Always. But he didn't say more, and the fire's crackle filled the silence, the neon motel sign buzzing in the distance. I felt it then, a hollow ache. He was lying, hiding something big, and I was losing him mile by mile. Later, in the room, Jamie showered. The waters hum a cover for my restlessness. His phone sat on the nightstand, screen dark, tempting. I hesitated, my heart pounding, the wooden floor cool under my feet. I shouldn't, I told myself, but the receipt, the calls, the distance, they pushed me forward. I grabbed it, swiping it open. Jamie hadn't changed his passcode since college. A photo loaded, one he hadn't shown me, him and a woman, her dark hair spilling over his shoulder, their smiles close, intimate, taken at a bar we hadn't visited. The timestamp was 2 days ago, when he'd gone for gas and been gone an hour. My breath caught, the screen's glow harsh, confirming what I'd feared. Jamie was cheating, not just on partner, but on me, on us. I set the phone down, my hand shaking, the room's air stale with the scent of damp carpet and betrayal. Jamie came out, towel around his waist, his grin back, oblivious. You good, Alex? He asked, tossing his clothes on the bed, the springs creaking. Yeah. I lied, my voice steady, though my chest burned. I couldn't confront him, not yet, not with the road ahead, and the weight of our history holding me back. I climbed into bed, the mattress sagging, the neon signs glow seeping to the curtains. My notebook was in my bag, untouched, but I traced the words in my mind. His secret, my proof, a friend slipping away, step by step, toward a truth I can't avoid. The highway's hum was faint outside, the fire's warmth gone, and as Jamie slept, I lay awake. The photo's image burned into me, our friendship a map I no longer knew how to read. The highway cut through a desert expanse, its asphalt shimmering under a relentless sun. The sedan's tires humming a tune that felt more like a warning than a song. I sat in the passenger seat, my hands restless in my lap. The air thick with the scent of warm leather and Jamie's lingering cologne, a sharp reminder of the friend I was losing. 11 days into our cross-country road trip. The photo I'd found on his phone last night, Jamie with woman, their smiles too close, too secret, burned in my mind, a truth I couldn't unsee. He drove, his sunglasses hiding his eyes, the radio playing a pop song he tapped along to, oblivious of the fault lines cracking our friendship. I wanted to hold on to the Jamie I'd known since we were kids, but every mile made that harder. The road ahead a map of betrayal. We left the Starlight Motel at dawn, the neon vacancy sign dim in the morning light, the air cool with the scent of dew and motor oil. Jamie had been cheerful, cracking jokes about the motel's lumpy beds, but his laughter felt like a mask, too loud, too forced. I'd nodded along, my responses short. The photo's image, her dark hair, his arm around her, looping in my head. We'd been brothers, sharing everything. Heartbreaks, dreams, late-night confessions. But now he was hiding a whole life, a woman named Elle, a motel rendezvous, a secret that made our road trip feel like a lie. I gripped my coffee cup, its warmth gone, and wondered how to keep driving with him, how to pretend I didn't know. "Let's check out that roadside thing," Jamie said, pointing to a faded sign for world's largest cactus, his voice bright, like he could outrun the tension. I shrugged, needing a break from the car's claustrophobia, and he turned off the highway, the gravel road crunching under our tires. The attraction was a dusty lot, a towering cactus sculpture looming over a gift shop, its wooden porch sagging, the air hot with the scent of sand and sagebrush. Tourists milled around, snapping photos, their voices a hum against the desert silence. We wandered to the cactus, its shadow stretching long, and Jamie posed for a selfie, his grin wide, but I saw his phone flash with notification, his thumb quick to dismiss it. "You're popular these days," I said, my voice dry, leaning against a wooden fence, the splinters rough under my palms. I watched him, waiting for a crack in his act, the photo's weight pressing me to push. "Just social media, man," he said, not looking up, his fingers typing fast, the screen angled away. "Gotta keep the vibes going." He laughed, but it was hollow, and he pocketed the phone, grabbing a soda from the shop, the can hissing as he opened it. I followed, the air inside stale with the scent of cheap souvenirs and sunscreen, my chest tight with the urge to grab his phone, to see if Elle was texting again to end the charade. We sat on a bench outside, the cactus looming, the highways hum faint beyond the dunes. I tried to find a friend I'd started this trip with, the one who dragged me to dive bars, who'd stood by me through my darkest days. This trip was supposed to fix us, I said, my voice low, the soda can cold in my hand. "But you're somewhere else, Jamie. What's going on?" I looked at him, hoping for honesty, for a glimpse of the brother I trusted. He shifted, his sunglasses reflecting the cactus, his jaw tight. "I'm right here, Alex," he said, his voice soft but defensive. "Just got a lot on my mind, okay? Work, life, you know." He sipped his soda, his eyes on the horizon, and I felt the distance widen, a desert between us. I wanted to believe him, to let his words rebuild what was breaking, but the photo, the receipt, his lies, they were too heavy, too real. That evening, we stopped at a diner, its neon open sign buzzing, the air war with the scent of burgers and pie. Jamie went to the restroom, leaving his jacket on the booth, his phone tucked inside. I hesitated, my heart pounding, the wooden table sticky under my elbows. I reached in, not for phone, but for anything, a habit, a reflex, a need to know. My fingers brushed a folded napkin, and I pulled it out, unfolding to find a lipstick mark, a red smudge shaped like a kiss, with a note in unfamiliar handwriting. "Can't wait for next time. Elle." My breath caught, the diner's hum fading, the neon glow harsh through the window. It was real, undeniable. Jamie was living a double life, meeting her, loving her, while I drove beside him, clinging to a friendship he'd already half abandoned. I stuffed the napkin back, my hand shaking, as Jamie returned, sliding into the booth, his grin quick. "Food here yet?" he asked, oblivious, grabbing a fry from a nearby plate. I nodded, my voice gone, the lipstick mark a brand in my mind. I wanted to throw the napkin in his face, to demand who Elle was, why he'd lied, but the weight of our history, years of loyalty, shared pain, held me back. Not yet, I thought, but the confrontation was coming, a storm I couldn't outrun. We drove on, the highway dark now, the stars bright above the desert. The sedans hum a lonely sound. Jamie sang to the radio, his voice carefree, but I stared out the window, the neon signs of distant towns blurring past. My notebook was in my bag, untouched, but I traced the words in my mind. His lies, my proof of friendship fractures, step by step, toward a truth I must face. The road stretched on, the cactus fading behind us, and I knew I was one step closer to breaking the silence, to losing the friend I'd loved, the brother I trusted, in the dust a highway we'd never share again. The highway snaked through a barren stretch of scrubland, its asphalt cracked under the sedan's tires, the midnight sky a vast, starless void above. I drove, my hands tight on the wheel, the leather cool against my palms, the air heavy with the scent of stale soda and the tension that had festered for days. 12 days into our cross-country road trip. The friendship I'd fought to save was crumbling. The photo of Jamie with a woman, her dark hair spilling over his shoulder, and the napkin with L.S. lipstick marked burning holes in my trust. He sat beside me, his phone dark for once, his head against the window, pretending to sleep. The radio was off. The engines hum a stark reminder of the silence between us. And I knew I couldn't carry his lies any further. Jamie's secrecy had been a slow poison. Guarded texts, secretive calls, the receipt for a motel we hadn't stayed at. I'd wanted to believe in him, in the brother who'd stood by me through my dad's death, who'd laughed with me over stolen beers in high school. But the evidence was undeniable, piling up like roadside debris. He was having an affair, meeting someone named L behind my back, turning our road trip into a cover for his double life. The desert stretched around us, the highway's white lines fading into the dark, and I felt the weight of every mile we'd driven, every moment I trusted him, pressing me toward confrontation I delayed too long. "We're stopping," I said, my voice sharp, breaking the silence. I pulled into a rest area, its neon restroom sign flickering, the lot empty except for a lone truck, the air cool with the scent of dust and creosote. The wooden picnic table stood under a dim floodlight, their surfaces scarred, a fitting stage for what was coming. Jamie stirred, rubbing his eyes, his face lit by the dashboard's glow. "What's up?" he asked, his voice casual, but his eyes narrowed, sensing the shift in me. He stepped out, stretching, his sneakers crunching on the gravel, and I followed, my heart pounding, the napkin and photo like anchors in my pocket, though I'd left them in my bag. I didn't need them. The truth was carved into me now. I leaned against the car, the metal cold, the highways hum faint beyond the scrub. "No more bullshit, Jamie," I said, my voice steady, though my chest burned. "I know about her. The woman in the photo, the motel receipt, the napkin with the lipstick. Who's L, and why the hell have you been lying to me?" The words spilled out, raw and heavy, a dam breaking after days of holding back. His face froze, his grin gone, his hands shoving into his pockets, the neon light casting shadows across his jaw. "What are you talking about, Alex?" he said, his voice low, but the crack in it betrayed him. "You're paranoid, man. Digging through my stuff? That's low. Don't." I snapped, stepping closer, the gravel shifting under my boots. "I saw the photo on your phone, her arm around you, 2 days ago when you went for gas. The receipt from the motel, room 12 with L written on it, the napkin with her lipstick. Can't wait for next time. You're cheating, Jamie, and you've been using this trip to hide it. Just tell me the truth." My voice shook, not with anger but with hurt, the betrayal of a friend who'd been my family cutting deeper than I'd expected. He looked away, his jaw tight, the desert silence swallowing the moment. Then he sighed, running a hand through his hair, and met my eyes, his expression a mix of guilt and defiance. "Okay, fine," he said, his voice low. "There's someone. Her name's Lila. It's not serious, just something that happened. But you're blowing this out of proportion, Alex. This trip's about us, not her." "Not serious?" I laughed, bitter, the sound harsh and quiet. "You've been sneaking off, lied in my face, meeting her at motels while I'm driving your ass across the country. You call that not serious? This was supposed to fix us, Jamie, to bring us back, but you've been checked out since day one. I paced, the gravel crunching, the wooden table a blur in my peripheral vision. Why didn't you tell me? We don't keep secrets, or at least we didn't. He stepped forward, his hands out, his voice rising. Because it's my life, Alex. I don't owe you every detail. You're acting like I betrayed you, but this isn't about you. Lila's just a distraction, okay? I'm still here, still your friend. Why can't you let it go? His words stung, a deflection that twisted the knife, blaming me for wanting the honesty we'd always shared. Let it go, I said, my voice breaking. The neon signs buzz a faint pulse. You're not here, Jamie. You're with her, texting her, meeting her, while I'm holding on to a friendship you don't even care about. We swore we'd never lie to each other, but you've been lying every mile of this trip. I stopped, my breath short, the desert air cold against my skin, the weight of our history, nights under stars, promises of loyalty, crashing down. He shook his head, his eyes hard now, his voice low. You don't get it, do you? Life's messy, Alex. I didn't plan this, but I'm not going to apologize for living. You want everything like it was in high school, but we're not kids anymore. He turned, kicking the gravel, and walked toward the restroom, leaving me standing there, the argument unfinished, the rift between us a chasm. I sank onto the picnic table, the wood rough, the highways hum a distant comfort. The neon light flickered, casting jagged shadows, and I felt hollow, the friend I'd loved slipping away. Jamie had admitted to Lila, but his deflection, his refusal to own the lie, hurt more than the affair itself. I thought of our past, drunken confessions, shared dreams, and wondered if it had all been one-sided, if I'd been holding on to a bond he'd outgrown. My notebook was in the car, but I didn't need it to know what I'd write. His truth, my pain, a friendship breaks, step by step, toward an end I can't stop. The desert stretched around me, the road waiting, and I knew we'd keep driving, but the question was how much further we could go before everything we were fell apart. The highway stretched into the dawn, its asphalt a gray scar across the desert. The sedan's tires humming a mournful tune under a sky bruised with clouds. I drove, my hands loose on the wheel, the leather warm from hours of grip, the air stale with the scent of untouched snacks and Jamie's lingering cigarette smoke. 13 days into our cross-country road trip. The confrontation at the rest area last night. Jamie's admission about Lila, his affair, his refusal to apologize, had left us in a cold silence. Our friendship a wreckage I didn't know how to salvage. He sat beside me, staring out the window, his phone untouched, his jaw set like he was daring me to speak. The radio stayed off, the engines hum a hollow echo of the bond we'd lost, and I wondered how we keep going with so little left between us. Jamie's words, "It's my life, Alex. I'm not going to apologize for living," had cut deeper than the affair itself, a betrayal of the loyalty we'd sworn as kids. I'd seen the photo, the napkin with Lila's lipstick, the motel receipt, but his defiance, his claim that I was clinging to a childish version of us, hurt most. We'd been brothers, sharing secrets over bonfires, promising to face the world together. Now he was a stranger, his lies a wall I couldn't climb. The desert blurred past, cacti silhouetted against the sunrise, and I gripped my coffee cup, its cold rim a small anchor in the storm of my thoughts. "We need gas," I said, my voice flat, breaking the silence, the fuel gauge hovering near empty. Jamie nodded, not looking at me, and I pulled off the highway into a small town, its neon gas and diner sign flickering, the air sharp with the scent of fuel and morning dew. The station was quiet, a wooden awning shading the pumps, a cafe next door with checkered curtains. We filled the tank, the pumps clicked rhythmic, and Jamie wandered toward the cafe, muttering about food. I followed, needing coffee, but dreading the forced closeness of a shared table, the pretense of being okay. The cafe was cozy, its wooden booths polished, the air warm with the scent of bacon and fresh biscuits. We slid into a booth, the vinyl creaking, and ordered coffee for me, pancakes for Jamie. The waitress's smile a contrast to our grim faces. I stared at my mug, the steam rising, and tried to sort through the mess inside me. Anger at Jamie's lies, guilt for pushing and confess, loyalty to a friendship that felt like a ghost. This trip was a mistake, I said, my voice low, the words slipping out before I could stop them. Jamie looked up, his fork pausing, his eyes narrowing. "You want to quit, Alex? Just say it." His voice was sharp, defensive, but there was a flicker of something else. Fear, maybe, or regret. He set the fork down, the clink loud in the cafe's hum, and leaned back, his arms crossed, waiting for me to decide our fate. I wanted to say yes, to end the charade, to drive home alone and leave his betrayal behind. But the memory of our past, nights laughing until dawn, his voice steady when I needed him most, held me back. "I don't know," I said, my voice raw, the coffee bitter on my tongue. "I thought this would fix us, but you're not even trying, Jamie. You're just gone." He sighed, rubbing his face, his eyes tired, older than I'd ever seen. "I'm here, man," he said, softer now, but the words felt empty, a reflex, not a promise. "Look, Lila's a thing, yeah, but it doesn't change us. You're still my brother." He reached for his coffee, his hand steady, but I saw the lie in his eyes, the same one I'd seen when he dismissed the receipt, the photo, the napkin. Before I could respond, the car decided for us. As we left the cafe, the sedan wouldn't start, the engine clicking uselessly, the dashboard dark. "Shit," Jamie muttered, popping the hood, the air hot with a scent of oil and frustration. We stood over the engine, the desert sun climbing, locals passing with curious glances. I called a tow, the mechanic shop a mile away, and we worked together to push the car to the road's edge, the gravel crunching, our shoulders brushing, a forced teamwork that felt like a cruel echo of our past. Under the hood, Jamie tinkered, his hands greasy, cursing softly, while I handed him tools, our movements automatic like the kids who'd fix bikes in my garage. For a moment, it was us again, Alex and Jamie, problem solvers, a team, but the illusion broke when his phone buzzed, a text lighting up the screen in his pocket. I caught a glimpse before he turned away. "Lila, when are you back? Miss you." My stomach twisted, the cafe's warmth gone, the neon signs glow a cold witness to his double life. "You gonna answer that?" I asked, my voice low, handing him a wrench, the metal heavy in my hand. I met his eyes, daring him to lie again, the highways hum a distant pulse. He froze, then shrugged, his grin forced. "Later," he said, turning back to the engine, but his hands shook, betraying him. We finished in silence. The car towed to the shop, the mechanic promising a fix by morning. We walked to a nearby motel, the wooden porch creaking, the air thick with the scent of dust and defeat. In our room, Jamie flopped onto a bed, the springs groaning, and I sat by the window, the neon no vacancy sign flickering outside. My notebook was in my bag, but I didn't write, the words too heavy. His lies, my loyalty, a bond unravels, step by step, toward an end I dread. I stared at the highway, the desert dark, and wondered if I could finish this trip, if I could sit beside Jamie knowing he'd chosen Lila's texts over our truth. The friendship we'd built was a house on fire, and I wasn't sure I had the strength to walk away from the ashes. Not yet, but the road was running out, and so was I. The highway lay quiet beyond the small-town mechanic's shop, its asphalt glinting under a pale morning sun, the desert air sharp with the scent of oil and dust. I sat on a wooden bench outside, my coffee cooling in a paper cup, the sedan up on a lift inside, its engine exposed like the lies Jamie had tried to bury. 14 days into our cross-country road trip, our friendship was a wreck. The photo of Jamie with Lila, the motel receipt, the lipstick-stained napkin, and his half-hearted admission last night. It's not serious, just something that happened, a pile of debris I couldn't ignore. He leaned against the shop's wall, scrolling his phone, his sunglasses hiding his eyes, the silence between us a chasm wider than the desert around us. I'd held back too long, and today I'd have the truth, even if it broke us for good. The shop was a cluttered space, tools scattered on a wooden counter, the air thick with the scent of grease and rubber, the mechanic's radio playing a faint country tune. Jamie had barely spoken since we'd pushed the car here last night, his deflections at the rest area, blaming me for clinging to our past, still burning in my chest. We'd been brothers since high school, sharing secrets over campfires, vowing loyalty through every storm. But Lila, his secret, had turned this trip into a lie, and I couldn't drive another mile with his betrayal sitting between us. I set my coffee down, the bench creaking, and stood, the gravel crunching under my boots, my pulse loud in my ears. "Enough, Jamie," I said, my voice steady, cutting through the shop's hum. "No more dodging. I know about Lila, the photo, the motel, the napkin. You're having an affair, sneaking around while I'm right here, thinking we're fixing us. I want the whole truth. Who is she and why'd you lie?" I stepped closer, the desert sun hot on my neck, my eyes locked on his, daring him to run from this. He froze, his phone slipping to his side, his sunglasses sliding down to reveal eyes tired and guarded. "Jesus, Alex," he said, his voice low, rough, like he'd been caught stealing. "You're obsessed, man. Digging through my stuff, playing detective? Let it go." He turned away, but I grabbed his arm, the fabric of his jacket ruff, stopping him cold. "Don't," I said, my voice sharp, the hurt spilling out. "I saw you with her, smiling, 2 days ago when you ditched me. The receipt for room 12, her lipstick, her texts. Miss you already? You've been lying every mile of this trip, Jamie. We swore no secrets, but you got a whole other life. Tell me or I'm done." My hand dropped, trembling, the mechanic's clank of tools a distant echo, the highway's hum waiting beyond. He sighed, rubbing his face, and leaned against a wooden counter, the fight draining from him. "Okay," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Lila's someone I met a few months back, at a gig. She's a bartender, lives a few towns over. It started as a fling, but it's more now. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd judge me. Make it about us when it's not." He looked at me, his eyes pleading, but there was defiance there, too, like he was daring me to understand. "Judge you," I said, my voice rising, the air thick with grease and my anger. "This trip was for us, Jamie, to fix what was breaking. You made it a cover for your fling, sneaking off, texting her while I'm driving, thinking we're brothers. You didn't just lie, you used me." I paced, the gravel shifting, the neon sign of a diner across the street flickering to life. "I trusted you, man. Through everything, my dad, our fights, all of it, and you threw it away for her." He shook his head, his jaw tight, his voice sharp now. "It's not about throwing anything away, Alex. I didn't plan this. Lila gets me, okay? She's there when I'm drowning in gigs, no stability, no plan. You've got your city job, your life figured out. I don't. She's my escape, not a betrayal." He stepped forward, his hands out like he could make me see his side. "You're making this personal, but it's my mess, not ours. Your mess." I laughed, bitter, the sound harsh against the desert's quiet. "You made it ours when you lied, when you let me think we were in this together. You could have told me, Jamie. I'd have listened, maybe even understood. But you chose to hide it, to let me believe in us while you were with her." I stopped, my chest tight, the memory of our high school vows, loyalty, honesty, us against the world, shattering like glass. The mechanic called out, the car nearly ready, but I barely heard him, the truth laid bare between us. Jamie looked away, his shoulders sagging, the neon glow catching the lines on his face. "I didn't want to lose you," he said, his voice breaking, the first crack of real regret. "I thought I could keep it separate, keep us the same. I'm sorry, Alex, but I'm not you. I can't just stay the same." He turned, walking toward the shop's door, leaving me standing there, the air heavy with his words and my loss. I sank onto the bench, the wood rough, the highway's hum a distant pulse. The friendship I'd fought for was unraveling, and I didn't know if I could drive another mile with him. His lies a passenger I couldn't carry. The car would be fixed soon, the road waiting, but I was at crossroads. Keep going, pretending we could salvage this, or turn back, alone, letting go of the brother I'd loved. My notebook was in my bag, but I didn't need it to know the words. His truth, my hurt, a bond in ashes, step by step, toward a choice I dread. The desert stretched around me, the neon sign buzzing, the highway and I stared at the horizon, wondering if it could lead me anywhere but away from the sedan's tires. The desert sun rising in a blaze of gold, casting long shadows across the scrubland. I drove alone, my hand steady on the wheel, the leather warm, the air sharp with the scent of dust and the open road. 15 days into our cross-country road trip, I'd made my choice. Jamie was gone. Dropped off at a bus station an hour ago, his bag slung over his shoulder, his face unreadable under the neon glow of a ticket sign. His affair with Lila, the photo, the motel receipt, the lipstick-stained napkin, his half-hearted confession, had shattered our friendship, and his words yesterday, "I'm not going to apologize for living," were the final cut. The radio was off. The engines hummed my only companion, and as the miles rolled by, I felt a weight lift, a closure I hadn't expected. The mechanic shop had fixed the car by noon, the engine purring again, the air thick with grease, and the aftertaste of our fight. Jamie had tried to act normal, joking about the bill, but his grin was hollow, his eyes avoiding mine. I'd spent the night in the motel, staring at the ceiling, the neon no vacancy sign flickering to the curtains, replaying our history, high school nights under stars, shared grief when my dad died, promises to never let each other down. Jamie had been my brother, the one who'd carried me through my worst days. But Lila, his secret, had turned this trip into a lie, and his refusal to own it broke something I couldn't repair. I decided then I couldn't drive another mile with him. We'd stopped at a diner that morning. Its wooden booths worn, the air warm with the scent of coffee and pancakes. I sat across from him, my mug untouched, the hum of the highway faint beyond the windows. "I'm done, Jamie," I said, my voice calm, final, the words heavy but sure. "I can't keep pretending we're okay. You lied. Used this trip to cover your affair. I'm finishing the drive alone." He'd stared at me, his fork frozen, his eyes wide with something like panic. "Alex, come on," he said, his voice low, pleading. "It's just Lila, man. It doesn't change us. We've been through worse. Don't throw this away." He leaned forward, his hands open, like he could pull me back to the kids we'd been, swearing loyalty over bonfires. "It changes everything," I said, my chest tight, the diner's neon sign buzzing in my peripheral vision. "You didn't just lie about her. You lied to me every day while I thought we were fixing us. I trusted you, Jamie, through everything, but you chose her over our friendship." I stood, tossing cash on the table, the clink of coins loud in the quiet. "Take a bus back. I'm done carrying you." He didn't fight, just sat there, his shoulders sagging, his sunglasses hiding the guilt I knew was there. "I'm sorry, Alex," he said, barely audible, the first real apology, but it was too late, a bandage on a broken bone. I walked out, the gravel crunching under my boots, and drove to the bus station, the air cool with the scent of exhaust and desert blooms. He got out without a word, his bag heavy, the neon ticket sign casting shadows across his face. I didn't look back as I pulled away, the highway opening up, the weight of his betrayal falling behind. Now, alone, the road felt different, vast but not empty. The desert stretched around me, cacti silhouetted against the sky, the horizon endless, a canvas for whatever came next. I thought of Jamie's grin, his laugh, the nights we'd planned this trip, believing it would save us. I wanted to hold on to that, to the brother who'd stood by me, but his lies, the photo, the napkin, Lila's text, had shown me a truth I couldn't ignore. He'd chosen a different life, one I wasn't part of. The hurt lingered, a scar I'd carry, but it wasn't anger anymore, just a quiet regret for what we'd lost. I passed a roadside sign for a town I'd never heard of, its neon glow faint in the daylight, promising diners, motels, a fresh start. I didn't need Jamie to finish this trip, to find the freedom we'd chased. The sedan purred, the wheel steady under my hands, and I felt a flicker of something new. Peace, maybe, or possibility. My notebook was in the passenger seat, unopened since the trip began, but I knew what I'd write. His lies, my choice, a friendship fades, step by step, toward a road that's mine. The highway hummed on, the desert alive with light, and I drove, not toward an end, but toward beginning, alone but whole, the echoes of our past fading in the rear-view mirror.